Hello guys, I will be very honest with you as always. It was very beautiful to observe the reaction of the world on our Ukrainian SBU Operation Spiderweb, in the result of which Russia lost more than one-third of its strategic aviation in just one day. Inexpensive FPV drones miraculously appeared in very different, distant regions of the enormously large, so far, Russian Federation and destroyed 41 of their strategic cruise missile carriers that altogether are worth more than $7 billion, and they cannot be replaced in the decades to come. They were built back in the USSR. What is also interesting, the operation took place close to the anniversary of the Budapest Memorandum, this epic failure in the result of which Ukraine had to give up its nuclear weapons to Russia, so that now that evil empire could threaten the world. But we know what to do and we correct our mistakes, just like yesterday with that Spiderweb operation. To tell you the truth, we were super happy in Ukraine, but we were not that surprised because during these years of the full-scale war, we witnessed a lot of Ukrainian miracles. But this one seems to have surprised the world. And I think we need to discuss the reaction of the world, of our allies inside Ukraine, but most interestingly, the reaction inside Russia. Because, first of all, it's just beautiful and it's hilarious. And second, it tells a lot about the future of this war and how close we are to the collapse of the Russian Federation. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see similar operations, and I'm sure they will follow, subscribe. We will discuss all of that on the channel. Spiderweb by SBU is a genius operation that will definitely be studied by many, including Russians. Because if you start collecting their reactions, they are hilarious and they tell a lot about the state of this classical bully. Preparing for a blitzkrieg, Russia forgot to prepare for a real war with an enemy that is brave, that is clever, that is innovative, and most importantly, stands on the right side of history, and this does help us a lot. FPV drones are considered inexpensive, simple, and look what they managed to do. What surprised Ukrainians most of all, apart from this beautiful fact that now a lot of innocent lives are saved? Second, that we managed to keep this operation a secret for more than a year and a half. And many people here in Ukraine say this is the demonstration of health inside SBU, our security service, inside army, that finally we have cleaned the system from Russian spies. And that is a breakthrough for a country that was occupied by Soviet Union and then during the decades was severely influenced from the Kremlin. So during a year and a half, we were able to organize this operation and really close to FSB. That is beautiful because according to Russian investigation, the center of the planning of Spiderweb was in Chelyabinsk, literally next to FSB building. Now, can you imagine how Russian propagandists, how Russian military vloggers and ordinary Russians comment on this situation? This is hilarious because like no propaganda manuals prepared them for such an epic fail. And they have gone through these classical stages. The very first one was denial, and for a couple of hours, as perhaps the aircraft was still burning, they kept saying, this is fake, this is not happening, what kind of aircraft, where is that? But with all the videos coming from 5 different air bases, with satellite images available, with lots of videos leaked from the Russian soldiers, it was impossible to deny this fact longer. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine, SBU, and all the good people that keep demilitarizing Russia to make this world a safer place, and subscribe to witness that together. So all of these videos are available. You can subscribe to my X. I've shared a lot there. So the next stage was all over Russian channels, and they were saying this is not Ukraine. It must be the United States or it must be Britain. But when the details became known, these really complex operation with, FPV drones first coming to Russia, then trucks hired, then mobile houses and all of that happening, and Ukraine speaking more and more, they had to accept it. And then you can come across lots of comments, starting from Solovyov, who says this is like the worst humiliation ever. But just look at this classical Russian reaction. They don't speak about serious problems in Russia's defense. They don't speak about lack of, intelligence data, lack of air defense or something. The very first reaction of Russian propagandists, they wanted those conscripts, Russian conscripts who filmed the videos and reported about the accident, to be executed. The very first reaction, hide the truth. This is so Russian and this is so disgusting, and another proof why Russia must be demilitarized and liberated from its dangerous imperial character, its anger and hate. They won't be able to reconstruct Soviet Union. And do check the video on my new channel, I link it here, about my reaction on these recent comments from Putin's office that Soviet Union still exists. Not anymore, because actually the majority of these strategic bombers that were destroyed were constructed back in Soviet Union in times of the Cold War, and they won't be able to recreate this number of aircraft. It was really beautiful to observe the faces of the Russian delegation that arrived today in Istanbul, and when journalists were asking for comments, these are FSB, KGB, seasoned agents, and they could not hide that despair, that misery from their faces. Once again, I do believe that this comparison of Russia to a bully is simply genius too. Because as a bully, Russia is not prepared to defend itself. It did not think about its safety and security when planning a blitzkrieg that totally failed. And now we see that. So perhaps that's one of the most important messages here. Together with the destruction of Russian aviation, like 40 strategic cruise missile carriers in one day. So together with all that, we have also destroyed this authority of FSB. Russia does not have working intelligence. They are just like online. It happened online. You can watch these videos that remind me some computer games, how Ukrainian drones, cheap Ukrainian drones, erase huge, super expensive Russian bombers and save lots of innocent lives. Yesterday, I did not manage to sleep in Kyiv, and not because of a raid alerts. I'm used to that. But when I'm not home, I have a habit of letting my phone with a sound, and you kept sending me messages, oh no, Russia will make a revenge, please escape from Kyiv, thank you so much for taking care of me, for thinking about me. But don't make this mistake. It is not Russia's revenge, it's Ukraine's revenge for what they do. And they bomb us daily, every day, every night. They target cancer hospitals, they destroy dams, they target every night residential areas. This is happening on a daily basis. And these strategic bombers actually come from those air bases that we destroyed. This is what real escalation management is, to destroy the military force of the country that constantly escalates. Russia broke the international law when invaded Georgia in 2008. when invaded Ukraine in 2014 and then continued with the full-scale invasion in 2022. Russia escalated when invited North Korean soldiers, thousands of them, to fight for Russia in Europe. Ukraine does this escalation management perfectly by destroying the means of escalation. And please do not let fear rule you. Just like, don't do anything to Russia so they can simply bomb you. Do you remember what they did to us before Easter? Do you remember what they did to us just yesterday or the day before yesterday? It happens here. Russian nightly bombings happen in Ukraine every night. So by telling me they will bomb us, unfortunately, you don't bring me any news. And our task is not to accept the destiny, but to destroy the means with which they bomb us. And look how good we do that. Russians described it as aviation apocalypse. They were saying that is the greatest humiliation ever. And many used a lot of this like sexual vocabulary that as a polite woman I cannot repeat here, but you can guess what we've done to them. And it was not gentle. So definitely that is a first-class military operation, a first-class intelligence operation, and I'm super proud that we did that in the context of Donald Trump humiliating President Zelensky, in the context of weakness around us, spreading like this Russian narratives. We've managed to do the job. And many people were laughing that this Russian aircraft on those military air bases literally in very different corners of Russia. Check my interview with Valery Pekar, a great Ukrainian intellectual, which explains a lot about the need to decolonize this very large empire. But size typically helped Russia because they could relocate their aviation, they could relocate their military production, and now this myth is also ruined. We see Russia does not control its borders. We see Russia does not control strategic objects literally in different corners. And with FPV drones, with artificial intelligence, with Ukrainian determination, there is no safe military object in Russia. And that is beautiful. That is simply beautiful. So remember to be strong. Don't be afraid. I am not afraid. Like I spent this night in Kyiv. I have just returned back home. I was not afraid. I was proud. I was happy. I was excited. And that's the only way to save my country and to save your countries too. Because with that strategic cruise missile carriers, Russia also threatened the United States. And by demilitarizing them with these Ukrainian efforts, we actually protect the United States and the American taxpayers too, so that in a year or two you don't need to spend your money and your blood to stop the Kremlin if it continues unites with China and North Korea. So let me know in the comments below what was your reaction, and maybe what was the reaction of your national leaders, or maybe you have come across a funny reaction from the Russian side. All of that makes us stronger, makes us more determined, and I'm sure we will discuss the defeat and the collapse of the Kremlin on the channel. Subscribe to do that together. Also remember to support our NEFO campaign, because this is about the drones, and I'm sure we are all in love with the Ukrainian drones these days. Also check our merch shop. There is a new summer collection with lots of very meaningful images that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and also about or how we can defeat Russia. Do check, the link is in the description of the video. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and Discord. And thank you for standing with Ukraine. You see, you can be proud of us, and we are proud and grateful of your support, trust, and we will win together. Slava Ukraini!